We're also talking about Jason Roberts because he's come out today as the first black player to insist that he will not be wearing the Kick It Out shirt this weekend. Now, Roberts has given his reasons as to why he doesn't want to wear the shirt. Here they are. He said, I find it hard to wear a T-shirt after what happened last year. I'm totally committed to kicking racism out of football, but when there's a movement I feel represents the issue in the way that speaks for me and my colleagues, then I will happily support it. First of all, your reaction, chaps.
Well, he's got the right to do that. If he feels as though he's not being supported, or the black players aren't being supported in the right way by the FA or by football in general, or by the Premier League, whoever he's targeting, I suppose he's got every right to say that.
Do you agree?
I do agree. If you feel strongly about something, I think you should go with it. When I was a player, I wasn't happy with the treatment I got when I was injured. So I was probably one of the first players that said, I'm not going to come into the club anymore. I'm going to go and find my own treatment because I was very unhappy. And Jason Roberts has taken it on himself to do this. And if he feels that strongly about it, then he's absolutely right to do that.
Warren?
My reaction, not surprised. Absolutely not surprised. This is, from what I can gather, this has been brewing for not just a year, 3, 4, 5 years. And we've seen all the issues, we've seen all the incidents, and this season has
will it bring problems with it though? Do you think?
In what way? Do
you think it can cause problems? You know, it's going to be highlighted and highlighted. Will it cause a friction between the kick raising out football and the players, and then it'll be built up more and more and more?
Well, I think one of the issues here is kick racism out of football is a great cause, but I think we expect too much of them. They're not the big organisation that a lot of people think they are. And I'll explain why, because the John Terry, the Suarez cases, people expect them to come out and make huge statements and be a big leading authority on this themselves. That is why. They're a charity. They are part funded by the FA, so they are not independent in that way, and they are not going to come out and make the strong statements that a lot of these black players want them to make.
It's interesting because Warren is right. They're part funded by the FA, the Premier League and the PFA. And Jason Roberts' view is that Kick It Out are compromised by the funding they get. In other words, they're afraid of rocking the boat too much because they may not get the funding that keeps them going. We're joined by Clarke Carlisle, the chairman of the PFA, I'm pleased to say, on our Skype wall. Good evening, Clarke.
Good evening, Darren.
Now, you've been listening to what the chaps here in the studio have had to say. What's your initial reaction, first of all, to Jason Roberts' decision not to wear the shirt?
Oh, personally, I'm a bit disappointed. I know that I agree with what Warren said there, that bigger things were expected of Kick It Out when all these incidents have occurred. But I think it's lost that Kick It Out is an education and awareness campaign. You know, they are not a sanctioning body or a voice of the people. And I think the complaints that we have about the processes and the outcomes of recent events should be directed towards that governing body, which is the FA. I think it's a time like this when it's vitally important that we show solidarity and actually endorse these campaigns so that we can reinforce the messages that are coming out of them instead of undermining them and, you know, showing divisions.
Here's a problem, Clarke. Jason Roberts basically says, well, hang on a minute, when an organisation comes around that adequately represents myself and other black players, then I'll get behind it. And the problem is the FA make decisions. Kick It Out was initially set up as a kick racism out of football. Now it's Kick It Out. It's all encompassing. And a lot of black players feel that maybe it's lost its way a bit. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Kick It Out, just like Warren said, is a very small organisation. It's a charity that runs on a budget of less than £500,000. And it's progressed from being let's kick racism out of football to an anti-discrimination charity, which is now trying to fight all fronts of anti-Semitism, homophobia, and all other banners of discrimination. Now, in order for it to do that, it needs to increase in size exponentially. And I think that Jason makes a very valid point that the kind of angle of attack towards racism has been diluted somewhat because it's trying to spread itself so thinly. But because of that, I think that's all the more reason for us to rally up support for the charity so that it can increase its funding, increase its staffing level, and give the due time and attention to each facet of discrimination as is necessary.
Clarke, just how aware were you of the feelings of Jason Roberts and a lot of all the other black players as well?
Well, I wasn't overly aware of them until the meetings were called at the PFA offices to discuss this very matter. And there have been a number of meetings now where a lot of the players' thoughts and opinions have been brought to the table. And one of those thoughts was that they didn't feel that there was an adequate voice and they expected Kick It Out to be that voice. But that is what the union's there for. That's what people like Jason and Darren Moore and myself are on the management committee of the PFA for, so that the thoughts and opinions of the players can be brought to that table, that platform, and then be acted upon.